Go.
So let's quickly review what we covered last time. Um, so we have three nouns. They form an important poetic canon in that these three nouns reoccur in other poems, and those correlations with the other poems are significant for the interpretation of what is before us. Uh, and there are three occurrences of what phonemically is ahya, and each is followed by a noun. And so they are ahya huaytush, yasat, which means entreated. Then you have to repeat in your mind the entreated. Ahya urzanem, yasat. And then you get to ahya daiwa. So there's a question as to, is daiwa vocative plural as we see it in the third stanza, first line, atush daiwa, or is it nominative plural, in which case it would be parallel uh, as subject of a verb yasa, parallel to huaitush and urzanem. Uh, you could say urzanem matariamna as the entire phrase is the uh, as another subject, uh, and that is the question. Uh, Another question that arises is the meaning of in the third line, the noun duta, uh, plural dutongo, uh, and the verb daraya. Um, now, I'm trying to remember how much did we go into those issues last time? Did we
We
discuss?
didn't discuss
Oh,
Dutong.
okay, good. Okay. So we can translate his and his, ultimately, his refers in the end of the second line to uh, ahura Mazdas, ahurachia genitive, Mazda genitive. When I say Mazda uh, I'm reconstructing the meter. It's not the nominative Mazda, but um, the genitive of what originally was a laryngeal stem, Mazda plus ah. So that Mazda ah uh, gives us Mazda. Is that clear? Mazda is a genitive of Mazda.
So nominative singular was Mazda, and then the gen
Huh?
so the just so that I understand, the nominative singular was Mazda, and the original genitive singular was Mazda, and then that contracted to Mazda. Is that correct?
Well, let's say the nominative singular was something like, I don't know, Mazda,
Yeah, yeah,
laryngeal.
yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah,
Mazda.
exactly.
And if you scan it, uh, it scans Ahuraya, Razma, Mazda, 9. And let me uh, say something about this Urwazma, since I scanned it as two syllables. Razma, uh, in Younger Westen, the sequence R, which in English you'd write as WR, uh, underwent a metathesis, and then there was a prothesis. So you get Ra to Urwa. The Schwa, of course, after the Z, is a recitational insertion. So what looks like Urwa Zema is really two syllables, Razma. Razma, that final ah or was ma, that is the recitational lengthening, since in reciting all final vowels are long, whether they're historically long or short. This is the nominative of, it's the accusative of an stem, of a man stem. So with a man stem neuter, the accusative would be ma, as of course the nominative would be. So if we begin translating his, his, namely Ahura Mazda's bliss object, for that entreated, I have to say, yasa means to entreat for something. So for the bliss of him, namely Ahura Mazda, they're entreated Urzanim, let's say that's community, again, for his bliss, so that Ahia, referring to Ahurahi, is repeated. The community together with Aryamna, let's call it tribe today. Maybe it's clan. I'm not sure. Unless anyone has a strong feeling about whether Aryaman is clan or tribe, we'll just say, I'll try to remember to say tribe hitherto. So those so far are two subjects, the family and the community with tribe, who entreated for Ahura Mazda's bliss. And if you take the syntax, namely Ahya plus nominative, that you find with Ahya Chechwaitush and Ahya Orizinam, then there's the possibility that Daiwa is a nominative plural. And of course, you'd have to, in your mind, change the yasat to yasem, plural. And you have such instances. That's not a major problem. Really isn't. And let's leave that mahi mnoy alone for a minute. So all of these, if you include Daiwa, the demons, asked for, or asked for and treated for the bliss of Mazda Ahura. In this case, exceptionally Ahura Mazda, but that's because of the intruding noun or wasma. They all ask for the bliss of Mazda Ahura. And then we have in the third line what everyone understands is what family, community, etc. said. So it's the third line is in quotations. And here we have our lexical cruxes, cruces, if you like, duta and dareyu. Now, if you look at Humbach thinks that duta is household. There's no hope for that, really. He's basing that translation on a Middle Persian word dutag, which means, home as conceived of having a hearth with a chimney from which smoke comes. That is the etymology of Middle Persian dutag, house, hold, or homestead. Uh, but I mean, if you ask any Sanskritist, what does duta mean? Well, such a person will perhaps think of the famous play, The Cloud Messenger, Meghaduta, and so forth. Duta from a root, laryngeal root to do, um, having to do with going far, uh, as in the ra adjective dura, meaning far, um, superlative, gavishta, and so forth. So, duta is someone who goes far. The word occurs in Vedic uh, with a verb ish, mm, to move forward. That I mentioned that because that ish will figure later. Uh, so there's no reason not to think that we can translate this Dutongho, this Ongho plural, as messengers. Uh, Onghama, we will be, or let us be. Say it's subjunctive, let us be. I think that's a secondary lengthening that you see in the angstrom of Onghama. And of course, that's an inserted nasal, uh, which you find frequently between the a and the h. So in theory, this is originally ahama. Let us be throi, thy messengers. And then dareo, yoi or divishanti. Well, yoi or divishanti, originally divishanti from divishanti, those who are your enemies. Teng, from older ta, accusative plural, those who are your enemies. So we will daraya, those who are your enemies. Now, there are two problems with the word dario. Firstly, what is it? What is the meaning of the stem daraya? Secondly, what is that final O doing? We know the final O in Younger Western, and therefore, in most of our Older Western text, which was transmitted in a Younger Western matrix, that goes back to an earlier ah. So deep structurally, it's daraya. And what is that? Ah, that is a question. Two questions. What does it mean and what is it grammatically, morphologically? Uh, as for its meaning, well, daraya, the stem from the root dar, is a well-known verbal stem, present stem. In Old Persian, the name of the rye is Dariyat, Daraya Wahush earlier. Dariyat Wahush, he who holds that which is good. So Daria is to hold. In modern Persian, the present stem of the word to hold is also dar. Uh, so it should have something to do with holding. If you look at Humbach, which you in this case really needn't do, he thinks it means splitting. Now, there is a root dar from dar, which means to split. No, sorry. It's from Indo-European dar. I think it's the word tear in English, um, to split and peel off and stuff like that. Um, a lot of words like I think derma in Greek skin is from that root, from the idea of flaying. Uh, the problem with Humbach's interpretation is that ordinarily the present stem of that root has a nasal. It's durna with a n. Persian darridan with a double R for an old RN, meaning to tear. Uh, and only one time do you have a stem daria that perhaps means something like split. It occurs with the preverb pyri, and it describes what a certain group, I think the ancestors of the Kafir people of former Afghanistan, what they did with the sacrificial victim, what they did with its ears. They either, with pari meaning around, moved, pulled his ears around so that they could tear it off, or for all anyone knows, I think it could mean holding on to their ears uh, as they turned the ears. So even that alleged instance of the stem daria, I don't think is completely clear. No reason not to think it's the ordinary word to hold. But if you look at Bartholomew's dictionary, our good old, quite old, but quite good in many ways still, dictionary of Old Iranian, he defines dar as halten, to hold, um, festhalten, to hold strong, hold close, grab as it were, hold like, hold fast, uh, firmly, or zurückhalten, to hold back. Now, this text, Yasna 32, is in a series of texts which can be reconstructed sequentially. Um, so Yasna 46, despite its number, preceded very closely Yasna 32. Yasna 32 was followed by Yasna 33 and Yasna 49. Uh, I can illustrate this with my so-called scrim charting. So if we start with the Yasna 46 as in many ways the lexical antecedent of Yasna 32, then you have the word dar several times in Yasna 46 with these variant meanings: to hold up, meaning to support, to maintain, also to hold on to inimically, to hold on to for injuring someone. And you have already there a variety of meanings of dar. And in the poems, certainly in Yasna 49, you have yet another meaning of dar. So, given that context, the hearer of Yasna 32 had to decide what this daraya was. Does it mean to hold back, or does it mean to maintain? Now, in the context of enemies, those who are inimical to you, divishanti are inimical, you think it means hold back, hold them back who are inimical to you. And here comes a but. Because my view of Yasna 32 as poetry is it very much and very significantly exploits homophony, uh, words with the same sounds but different meanings. Uh, and that brings us to duta. Duta, which originally would be from a root in duh, um, cognates with Latin, say, fumus, smoke, and so forth. Um, well, duta should mean smoke as well as messenger, because in Iranian languages, it does give words which mean smoke. Common words like Persian dud, with the T being voiced, and Pashto lu, which would be regularly from duta and is of masculine gender. Pashto has gender, uh, as this word uh, would appear to be masculine. Uh, so this word can also mean smoke. So the way I read this is that there are, in the third line, two different homophonous statements, namely, uh, we will be smokes to you, meaning obscurations. We will make things dark like smoke for you. We will be your obfuscators, so to speak, holding up, supporting, maintaining those who are your enemies. And this would be a statement of the group of Daiwas, either the demons or their worshippers who are themselves demonic, and I think can be called Daiwas. The word Daiwa does occur in terms of people in Young Avestan with regard to a group of um, enemies of the Iranians called the Uyambura Daiwas, whom I identify with the uh, Kafirs of 19th century Afghanistan, um, non-Muslim pagan groups who, like the Uyamburas, had rather bloody rituals and a lot of other things like the what is described of as the Uyamburas. So, uh,
Quick question for you, Martin, if I may.
please.
So, Darayo here is an I stem nominal.
It is?
Is
Oh,
that
that's
the
very
is
interesting. Where did you get that from?
I'm just assuming is that what it is? I was just curious.
You're just assuming it like that, yeah?
I
Well,
just
that's
assume
very interesting that you're assuming that.
I
I
just
mean,
assumed it
okay,
just or rather
I am
it's a
not being
mere
ironic. I'm being
hypothesis.
complimentary now. So, I
Okay.
think that's
All right.
very cool
Well, I'm
that you're
glad. I'm
assuming.
glad. It looks like an I stem nominal that is used as something that can even govern a direct object. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. I could be wrong, so please correct me if I am.
You could be right. And I'm
Okay.
glad that you intervened at this point. But I am positively impressed by the fact that that you just pulled that out. Um, there aren't many such, really, I stem nominals. Uh, there's, I don't know, maybe four that Renou mentions in his Vedic grammar, a couple that MacDonald mentions in his Vedic grammar. I don't know of any Western grammars that have a category. There may be, but do you know of any? The I stem nominals?
Well, I mean, there's Huddy, which is like the yellow or the tawny being, i.e.
No, no.
The horse.
I mean verbs
Oh.
in I that act as though they were participles.
Oh, that I
And
don't know.
stems in
No.
I shouldn't say verbs in I. Stems in I that act as though they are participles of verbs. I mean, one that I couldn't find my Renew, but I saw in McDonald, um, among others, car with a long A, karshe, karshe, uh, meaning pulling, dragging from the root kirsch. Um, and between Landman and Renew and McDonald and whatever else you use, you can find a number of I stem uh, words, I stem words that uh, act as though they're participles. Um, now, that is possible here in the case of dario, so that the stem would be dari, meaning holding, and with ablaut daraya, dario. Um, why one should look for such a possibility is that there are those such as Kellens and Sharver and some others who say that there are no infinitives with final O. That is to say, old ah. Uh, there are no infinitives like that. Um, there are those that can take darayo as an infinitive to hold. So that is the problem. Um, Michael sent me this little book of Old Western quotations that Bernhard Forssmann had edited from the work of Karl Hoffmann. And this verse here before us, 32, 1, line C, is cited there and translated as though Dario is an infinitive. Well, I mean, if Hoffman thought so, that might be good enough for us. But if it is not the case that that can be an infinitive, uh, then uh, we would look to this participial sort of I stem, and that would work perfectly well. Um, there are a couple of, there's one good instance of such a form with a reduplication, chahrayo, those who would make uh, from the root kur to make chahrayo. And there's another form, sawayo, and I don't think that sawayo is a plural. It looks like an infinitive. Um, and we should look into those forms more carefully. Um, but as far as the morphology of Dario is concerned, it is a problem, and you can choose to see it either as an infinitive or, um, well, nominative plural. The other option is the simple option, which Humbach and Kellens and Scharve uh, maintain, namely that it is second person singular injunctive. Thou holdest back or whatever. Uh, I don't I don't believe that, but I don't see why. I don't see the sense of that. But I do have my own bias, which is that there's intentional ambiguity going on, and that would work, the intention of that ambiguity would work if Dario means those who hold on to, or hold up, or hold back, whatever, uh, or to hold back, or to hold on to, whatever, as an infinitive, not second person singular uh, injunctive. Theoretically, that's a possibility, but contextually, I doubt that very much. Um,
Marty, can I
so
say something?
please.
Uh, yeah, so the Vedic chakri type, the reduplicated I stem,
Mm,
that normally does take an accusative as its object.
mhm,
So there's parallel for the I stems, at least in
mhm,
that subtype, taking
mhm.
accusative. But what about the possibility? So I'm wondering who the vow is after Dvisha.
An excellent question.
And I'm wondering what you think about this possibility that the Dario is the verb meaning hold back in this sense, but it has a kind of imperative, as an injunctive, has imperatival force. So may you hold back those who hate us, that is, say, we, the community, etc. That
That's theoretically possible as another ambiguity, you know, uh, another intentional ambiguity. Um, I'll have to think about that, but I think it complicates the situation somewhat. Uh, it just adds a perhaps unnecessary possibility. Uh, but it's worth thinking about. Um, but I want to return to the first question: is who is the thou? When you ask who is the thou, you may as well also ask who is the you, because you have here thou, second person singular pronoun, and war, your, um, plural. And my answer is that the divinity is being addressed, or the Godhead, so to speak, Gottheit, as not necessarily a singularity, but composition of divine entities, which all are a Godhead. In short, the theology of the Gathas is distinguished by uh, the Ahura, the Lord called Mazda, be that comprehension or comprehending, be that wisdom or wise, uh, but that the Ahura called Mazda is a singularity, but is a singularity with different aspects, with different beings, different entities, divine entities, who are part of his nature, who are him ultimately. So you have both a singularity of divinity and a plural divinity. How many of these other ahuras, and there are other ahuras because there are two lines in the Gathas that say you must and the other ahuras. And we can even see that some of the ahuras are, for example, Ashi, reward, Aramati, uh, and we have to assume those that keep on popping up, Wahumana, good mind, and Asha, or more fully, Asha Wahishta, uh, rightness or best rightness, that these are also ahuras. So you have a theology of ahuras, of which Mazda is most named. I don't want to say most important because then I would sound like a henotheist. No, so I don't. You can say it's kind of henotheistic, but I don't want to use the terminology of monotheism, um, henotheism, and polytheism because they come from a different world. They come from a world of monotheism, really, of Christian scholars, really, and you know, also Jews and Muslims. But this is a different theology. So, in the first instance, Mazdahura is being addressed. In the war, it's Mazdahura plus the other chief, the other entities that are named, namely Wahumana and Asha, or Asha Wahishta. Uh, there's another passage where you have, we'll find it eventually, where you have addressed simultaneously to a thou and to a you. And I think that the fact that in the same line you have it's the singular and plural stresses and perhaps teaches uh, a doctrine of singularity and plurality simultaneously, which is a mystic, as it were, teaching uh, of the Gathas, of Gothic theology. Yes.
Question, yeah. So I'm as I'm reading this, when I see line three, the poet addresses the Daiva, and says, "Oh demons," and then the
Sorry, you
next
mean
line,
you mean stanza three, or are you
yeah,
saying
I
line
mean
one?
I mean B, yeah. So
The
B.
other, sorry, re, could you
So
read it?
yeah, Ahia Daiwa Mahmi Manoi,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So what I'm wondering about is once the Daiwas are addressed, it's the context of like the community is calling upon the favor of Ahura Mazda. And basically, I interpret this as, the poet and his community are basically um, telling the Daiwas to back off because we are going to be the messengers of you, Ahura Mazda, uh, the shatterers of those who hate you, instantiations of Ahura Mazda. Is that the idea?
Shatterers?
Well, so I mean,
I mean, we're saying that Dar is not
or the
shattered.
splitter. Well, that's true. Okay,
It's
yeah. I
not
mean,
shattered.
but that's
We're
the
saying
thing.
it's
Like,
whole, either
so just the
either
the the,
hold
the point
back
here. Well,
or hold
okay.
on to.
All right. Sorry. Good. Got it. All right. So we want to be your messengers, O Ahura Mazda. Uh, holding back those who hate you, instantiations of Ahura Mazda.
Yes.
That's the idea?
No, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because what I think is going on here is that there is a kind of poetic representation, complex poetic representation of there being two parties, a good party and a bad party, a righteous and, as it were, demonic party. Uh, and the idea here is that the family, community, and tribe, which represent good people, say what you said. Let us be, or we will be thy missionaries, if you will translate Duta as missionary, uh, holding back or to hold back those who are your enemies, the enemies of Yall, uh, namely Ahura Mazda, Wahumana, Shawishta, etc. Um, so uh, that's what the good guys say. The bad guys make believe they're saying that too. because they are duplicitous, uh, as I think is stated by the word dbitana in stanza 3 from dbita, twofold, double in my interpretation. They make believe they're saying the same thing, same word, but
And what they
the intention is we're going to be your smokes and hold on to or hold up those who are your enemies.
right, yeah, but the
I'll
surface
speak with a demon
meaning,
voice so you know
right,
which group I
exactly.
mean.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, yeah. So the surface meaning is those who are, deceiving, right? So the surface meaning of those who are deceptive is that they are indeed addressing Ahura Mazda, that, we want to be your missionaries, Ahura Mazda, but deep down, they're,
They're pretending
lupi,
to say we want to be your
lupi
missionary.
rapaces. What? Sorry,
Huh?
go on.
Sorry?
But like wolves in sheep's clothing,
Hey, oh, that's exactly what's going on.
yeah.
Uh, now I see this poem uh, as a kind of I see the stanza as a gate. Actually, I think there are a number of gates, but if you get it right, then you can walk into the poem, and the poem begins to make more meaning. If you think that there's only one meaning here, and moreover, if you think that Daiwas uh, are being addressed, uh, and Ahura Mazda is saying, "Well, look, you Daiwas, there are all these, or the good people are saying, look, you Daiwas, you know, we're not on your side. We're going to oppose you." Well, then you can't really enter the interesting, complex intention of this poem, whose essence is ambiguity and enigma and solvable enigma, but not easily so. I mean, I think thought is required, and I have a suspicion that the uh, elite group who were Zarathustra's core patrons uh, wanted something interesting, wanted something that, on the one hand, gave them the opportunity to exercise their mind, and on the other, betokened a mind who is inspired, namely Zarathustra, to come up with all these, interesting uh, angles. Um, so, ergo, the ambiguity, it's part of an enigma, and it is also the expression of a theological dualism, general dualism, actually, between, the right side and the wrong side. So I'll stop there and, take any more comments.
Shall I keep recording?
Yeah, keep recording. Please keep recording.
I
Okay.
have two questions. What do you think Manoi is? That's question one.
Oh,
And can you tell us more about the family of Rosma uh, in
oh
Iranian?
yes. I,
Yeah,
I can do both. Which would you like first?
Manoi first.
No. There's the phonologically, uh, I would compare poi. Uh, I think it's in Yasna 48. I'm not sure. P long O I. Uh, it means in protection, protecting, poi. Uh, and it would go back to P vowel laryngeal I, which then contracts to pi, monosyllable. And what with the influence of the labial, you get poi. Um, so so that would be from a root pa. Now I think manoi,
So is it P vowel laryngeal I diphthong or simply I?
uh, depends. I mean, originally p vowel laryngeal I,
Okay, good. Thank you.
pai, pai,
Yeah.
pai, poi. Okay.
Okay, good.
Um, this is manoi, but it scans as a single syllable, so you have to read it as manoi. Um, and if poi comes from pa, then Mnoi should come from Mna, as in, yeah, this Mnema, Mimnesko, Mna Omai is the one that when I sent you this thing last night, I thought of Greek Mna Omai, which means to bring to mind, to recollection, and also means to woo, uh, pursue a mate, to woo. Uh, mm, uh, which sort of reminds me of prompting, urging, and reminding, constantly bothering, nudging. Uh, um, so mana, then you do have mana in in Vedic, and essentially it means to call to mind, make recall, remind, uh, lead people to a thought on film. Um, and so I translate this as in my prompting. So mahmi locative, these are both locatives, in my prompting or my calling to attention, calling for people to remember what I'm saying. Uh, and I think well, firstly, evidence for it. I don't know if all of you or if any of you had a chance to what I wrote you last night on the subject. How many of you saw that? Um, you saw that. So I used my discovery of systematic ring composition to say that if you have a 16 stanza poem within the central two stanzas, to wit 8 and 9, you have correlations with the first and the last stanza. And if we look at stanza 9, we have 9c, ta uchda mainyeush mahya, mazda ashaicha yushmabia gerze. With this word, uchda, this utterance of my manu, of my mental force, gerze, I complain of it to you all, Mazda and O Mazda and Asha. O Mazda and to Asha. That's an interesting grammatical construction. I'm not going to go through that until we reach that point, but what he's complaining about is that the dush sasti, the person whose proclamations are evil, dush sasti, monadat srawa, he makes the things heard, which can be reputations, plural of srawa, reputation, or utterances in general. He makes them go wrong, go to the wrong place, go astray, sends them askew. That evil person does. And that translation of morendat, which stands for mrundat, an N infix of the root mard, which in Vedic means to miss the path, to go astray. This is a causative, makes go astray, mrundat, written morendat. It was Charve who came up with a correct explanation of this word mrundat, which is very important in the poem. It occurs several times. In Yasna 51, you also have Marta, non-causative. So the evil priest, probably, Fidush Sasti, makes glories, Sarawak, go astray, such as I would have if I, Zarathustra, would have if they didn't keep messing around and pretending it wasn't I from whom they got their ideas and whose words they're perverting. And they're robbing. You see, that person robs. Apa yanta for yamta. He robs that ishti, either that sending, that message, or that force, which is the welcome haati of good mind. It's the second line. Apa ma ishtim. So apa yam, apa, ellipsis, yamta, becoming yanta, robs either indeed ma from equals Vedic sma, or ma robs me of that welcomed or that esteemed high tea of good mind. What is a high tea? A high tea? Well, it can mean that which is achieved from the root han with laryngeal, which means to achieve something. So it means in Iranian, to attain something, to win something. Compare sun with, what do you call that? The sage stem sun in Vedic, which means to get hold of so as to possess. That achievement, therefore, the hati, or, well, the poem, the Gothic poem, the hati, because every poem is a hati, meaning something that is concatenated symmetrically. And that interpretation is borne up by ring composition, because in the last stanza, as we'll see, you have a form of the word ha, the root ha, if you will, meaning to bind, to tie up. So there's a double meaning here. Zarathustra in stanza 9 is complaining about the person who is ripping off, who is robbing him of his words and his reputation and his merit, his deserts, as well as his poetry itself. Ergo, Zarathustra is saying, with this word of look, this is me now talking. I'm telling you this now. Those guys are ripping off my words, and I'm complaining of it to you, Mazda and rightness. That's a long digression, but if one goes back to the first stanza and thinks that Zarathustra is saying, look, it's at my prompting. It's because of what I have been telling people, urging people, reminding people through my my words, through my poetry, um, that family, community, clan, tribe, both good family, community, tribe, and bad community, tribe, uh, are now representing themselves as wishing to have the bliss. They're not calling upon the bliss. They want the bliss of Mazda Ahura, uh, either through their piety or through their deception. Uh, they want the bliss. Um, so that has to be seen in the context of the relationship of Yasna 32 with Yasna 46. The opening of Yasna 46 shows that, in effect, family, community, and tribe at some point rejected Zarathustra. Hmm? Uh, by the end of Yasna 46, which I showed consists of two parts, a part where he's still hoping for patronage, and a part in which he's gotten patronage and he's speaking very confidently. So that poem 46 documents the vicissitudes of the poet's quest for patronage. But at the beginning of Yasna 46, he's being rejected, in effect, by family, community, and tribe, and is looking for patronage and asks Mastahura, to help him out there. Because if he's not helped, how can he then praise and, have people worship Mastahura? Okay. Um,
Can I ask a quick question?
just let me
Oh,
finish my point.
sure. Yeah.
So, if those are the circumstances that once upon a time Zarathustra had no patronage, then he had very prestigious patronage. That put him on the map. And then people would want to get in on the act in one way or another, either to follow what Zarathustra says or pretend to somehow go along with the idea of Ahura Mazda, but really pushing their own agenda, uh, which is what I project happened, that Zarathustra became popular enough so that everybody now wanted, as it were, the bliss of Mazda Ahura, no matter how they got it, uh, and that this misuse by Zarathustra's rivals of his words, of his preaching, as it were, is one of the subjects of this poem. So, yes, I think that's the context of this. Andrew, please.
Yeah, so about Manoi itself, so is this so that I understand, is this a laryngeal stem in the locative, singular?
Yes,
Okay, so it's the stem was Menach.
Menah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And
Menah, Menah, yeah.
okay, so basically there's an anaptictic vowel
Yes.
okay. So but in Proto-Iranian it would have just been M-N-A laryngeal.
Yeah, well, glottal stop. The whole word, you'd have to have
Yeah.
an it. Yeah.
Yeah, to make it
Menai,
locative.
Menai, yeah.
Yeah,
Menai.
so but I mean but yeah, the locative being Menachi.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Interesting. Okay.
I
Well,
should.
okay.
Did you have something else to say?
No, I want to hear the answer to Michael's question on Rasman as well. So anyway, yeah.
Okay, thanks for reminding me. Let me just finish a little bit of this monopistus. So in stanza 9, what I see as the cognate, as the correlation uh, in stanza 9 is the word manu, uh, about which I can speak for several days, but here I'll just speak for a few minutes and just say, let's translate it as mental force. I often translate it as spirit, but spirit is a little etymologically confusing. And it is mental force, a force which is of some kind of mental nature. I don't want to get into what I mean by mental, but it's from the root man, Indo-European men, uh, whose semantics are interesting. It has to do with impetus, making things go, as well as thinking. And it's a whole story, and Michael at least knows I'm interested in that root, but almost everyone agrees that uh, that root men has as its variant the laryngeal MNE, uh, second laryngeal. Um, so Zarathustra connected the two roots, and it should be noted that in Vedic, the root mna has present stem manna, manna, t, with a full grade man. So that would bolster the connection with Manu, as it were, in Zarathustra's mind, and I think in the mind of the speaker. Now, as for Urwazma, let us simplify it and call it Rasma, if I may etymologically. The root there is Raz, and what is the etymology? Is that what you would like me to tell you, Michael? I don't hear you.
Etymology and inner Iranian cognates, if there are any.
Yeah. Uh, inner Iranian cognate, there is a word urwad, urwad. U long A-D is the root. It means to be happy. And if you take that from rod aspirate D, which occurs in Vedic, not commonly, but it does occur for kind of state of being high, I think. Then take your rod, add your S, and you get Z as a result. The voicing of the sibilant is maintained after a voiced aspirate. So you get Raz. And this occurs, I've charted them in an article that I hope you all have. If any of you wants me to send it again, I'll gladly do so. Called A Pre-Literate Acrostic in the Gathas, where I have scrim charts showing was in its various forms, how all of them are related, and in the poetic composition across the board, through a number of poems, and even showing the acrostic that I claim is present in Yasna 33C, Warai Radanti Ohrahi Azaushai Mazda, giving you an acrostic or Razma. even that through Scrim, through my Scrim chart, correlates with this word rasma in our text here. I didn't in those charts include the form urwad, but I am able to chart urwad so that it, you know, correlates with this rasma. But I haven't looked at those charts for a while. I haven't published them. So it is an S extension of a root rod, uh, to be elated or something of the sort. Um, and it occurs, that root raz occurs again in this poem as what I think should have been urwash uchti, but it's written as urwash uchti, uh, that that oath or the like for the sake of bliss, something which the bad people say they make an urwash uchti, which I think is this uh, demonic uh, uh, meaning of Thwoi, Anhama, and so forth that we have in our C line of the stanza we're working on. Um, does that, Michael, satisfy? Yeah. Uh,
So
so
this is related to orthos in Greek, upright, is it
maybe,
not?
maybe,
I mean, it
maybe.
looks like
I'm not sure. I mean, it could be. I'm not sure about that. I've thought about that. And uh, have you written about Orthos, Andrew?
I haven't written about orthos, but I remember a number of years ago, I think our reading group with Michael and other people from Cornell read an article by Sergio Neri, who does that ring a bell, Michael? About orthos and various and or was it Hochstein? No, I think it was Hochstein about arbor and all that. And I think
Someone has, yeah. Is there a laryngeal after
yeah,
the?
so I mean, I think there may be there might have been a laryngeal before the DH, and I suspect that it might have
Let me
been just
just hold a minute. You have urdhva,
yeah, exactly, right.
urdhva. Yeah, so that, yeah, so it looks like there's laryngeal there.
But I think in the full grade, like a werde, right, that would have caused the deletion of the laryngeal before the DH because that there's a so-called Lex Hochstein whereby I guess full vowel, consonant, laryngeal, consonant, laryngeal is simplified to full vowel, consonant, consonant, laryngeal. And so I think
So
that, what you're seeing with this Rasman is the outcome of a generalized root that lacks the laryngeal, and that appears in Vedic Vardate and Vrdi and all that jazz. Does that make sense?
I,
Like the
I'm
grow upright.
hesitant. I'm hesitant to bring in the roots to increase here.
Okay.
I'm hesitant. But if you're talking about uh, Greek orthos and Sanskrit urdhva, um, as representing, well, orthos is straight, urdhva is high, meaning straight up, maybe something like that. And if you want to go from there to being high, being feeling elated, meaning
Hmm.
carried up, you know, uh, borne up, and want to say that that is the basic meaning of Vedic vrad, to feel high. Uh, maybe, maybe.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot to think about there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is just something that kind of occurred to me. Does this ring a bell, Michael? You're muted.
The root is set up as WRE laryngeal DH, right? And
Mhm.
urdhva would be a woe derivative from the zero grade of that root, giving you urdhva, right?
Hmm.
Orthos probably having the Saussure law loss of the laryngeal there, right? So, and then there's the problem of the non-appearance of the W in certain forms of it, right? Arduous, etc. But yeah, it's seems to be that's the standard view on Vrad and Urdhva. Yeah.
In Mycenaean, I think you, I think you get or orthos. Oh, let me ask first. Orthos is for orthwos. There's a digamma there.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Uh, and I think the word occurs in Mycenaean, but I don't remember in what form. I don't think it has an initial w, though. Um, one should maybe check on that. What, but I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Marty.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for our purposes, it's more interesting to remember that this Rasma, etc., um, in the Gathas plays a very important role. And you can read again this article of mine, A Preliterate Acrostic, and if you don't have it, let me know. I believe I sent that or I recommended it. Um, okay, so I think we've done the first stanza. Um, Now I sent you a sort of um, a recapitulation of what I wrote uh, in the Wiley Blackwell Companion to Zoroastrianism, um, where I suggested that in addition to all the other complicated stuff going on in Yasna 32.1, that at the phonic level, and this is my most daring proposal, and I think Zarathustra's most daring uh, use of uh, coded uh, alliterative phonemes, uh, suggested that the phrases, the first the last four words of line A and the last four words of line B, if you read them, Ahya Rizanam Matariam Na and Mnai Ahurachia Razma Mazda, you get uh, similarities in sound in those two lines. So clearly the sound of Razma and Wurzanam are similar. Uh, then I came up with this thesis that if you take a, w, m, a, you can group a, w, m, you can group them, you can break them up as a, w, then overlappingly with the w and the next m of mat, w, m, and then m plus a, uh, and similarly m, w, m. So you get the the initials ma for Basdahura, wa for mana wohu, and wa for arsha wahishta. And if you see this overlap, then this overlap of sounds symbolizes an overlap of the theological entities that the initials stand for, and this overlap symbolizes their co-equality and their interconnection. That is a mouthful, and I wouldn't come up with such a hypothesis were it not for the fact that the individual wma and awa occur in a number of times, and I think in my Wiley Blackwell article, I've given some examples where you have a whole bunch of wma phrases and the denouement as wahumana, and similarly wa, very clear in Yasna 33, 3, a whole cascade of w sounds, which was noted without any particular comment by Hans Peter Schmidt. He said, well, a lot of w words here is interesting. But he didn't come up with the conclusion that it symbolized Arta Wahishta. As a matter of fact, that phrase begins with Arshawane Wahishto. It's like there you got a decryption right there, and then a whole bunch of other awa words. So if it weren't for the fact that he alliterates the initial sounds of wa, ma, and awa in other places, and you can't just sneeze those away, that the culmination, pre-culmination, because those other the wuma and the awa business occurs after Yasna 32. Can't say culmination, but the idea here achieves its full form, that within, and this is very complicated, I admit it, some of you may not like it, I don't know, but I do believe that phonically encoded in this first stanza are the names of the theological entities, which are spelled out as being interconnected, in fact, in the stanza, in our next stanza. So that's the thesis. If I'm right, it shows even more than the acrostic that I pose for Yasna 33, that the kind of poetic thought involved here, at least on the part of Zarathustra, is cognitively of an extremely complex nature. And well, he takes it or leaves it. We can debate it. I think it's there. And if it is there, it just gives you a kind of idea of what a complex thinker Zarathustra was. How much the audience got it, I don't know. Can one get it? Well, I got it, but that's a whole story in itself as to how I got it, but that's what I think. So I'll stop there, and unless there are any comments or questions, we'll, if we can, start reading 32. How are we time-wise? I haven't been keeping time.
Just about 6 o'clock. Oh, it's an hour and a half.
So y'all are hungry?
Yes, at East Coast we are.
Well, you're all East Coasters, aren't you? And
Early
Yeshin,
morning.
Chu is in China, and I don't know what time it is there.
It's
So
7 o'clock almost.
7 o'clock.
so would you like us to stop here and we'll continue next time? Yeah.
Yeah. Are we going to go back to Saturday or are we going to stick with Sunday?
Excellent question.
Okay, I'm stopping the recording, right?
Please
Okay.
stop the recording. Yes.